Hey, back at it once again. Um, we are at question 6, and it was a vocabulary question. Now, let's say you were a little less than sure about the next word, and it looked like some of us were. So maybe we should take a moment and take a look at it. So, which of the following is true of a person who has intuition? And it says he or she sense some things without reasoning, right? They intuit it as opposed to um, already know it, right? They have to sort of figure it out. They infer it almost. So this one threw us for a bit of a loop. So what could you do if you only have access to your test? Not like anyone's stopping you from looking up the word intuition on Google, but let's just say you're an honest Abe and that's the way you do, that's the way you roll, right? So what I would do is I would go to the text. I would press Control and F on the computer, intuition, and then it would be right there in the text. And I would say, aren't you afraid you're disturbing him? Mother, I have some intuition. Then may I ask you this much, Anne? Please don't shut the door when you go in. Oh, this is when they're accusing Anne and Peter of canoodling as a result of their romantic feelings for one another. When you can see what the definition is, the ability to see the truth of something without immediately without reasoning. Okay, so then you look at the test and you see the answer. He or she sensed some things without reasoning. Well, the exact the exact um, definition is right there. All you have to do is kind of go back and look at it. So for the 61 of you who may have done that or just knew it, noise. For the 621 others, do yourself a favor. Use the text. It's going to have sometimes it's going to have the exact word for word answer in it, like this one did. Not that this was like a question that sank a ton of people, but it sank enough to say, you know what? Go back and check the text. Go back and check. All right. Question 8. Which of the following words best describes a rigid pose of the body? No one had, not too many people had trouble with that. But again, if I were to say go back and look up the word rigid, do so. Looks like people said the toughest one was that last one. Maybe it's because it had that extra answer, would probably be my guess. And they said the easiest one was the first one, question 6, the one about apprehension. And I don't disagree. I don't disagree, my precious babies. Um, this time that yeah, the phone and the TV are sort of our main distractors here. Maybe this is a conversation to have with others in your family. Yeah, I have to say this to my family because they're all TV heads, and I mean the family I grew up with. Everyone had to have the TV on constantly, and if a TV is on, I personally cannot concentrate on anything but the TV, and I don't even care what's on there. I don't care if it's a paint dry hour on TV. Like I'm watching that paint dry. I'm watching it dry. All right. So sorry, I forgot to set a little timer here so I don't go overboard. All right. Actually, let me check. All right. Siblings always a problem, but it looks like the phone. We got to put that phone in the other room. That's what Dr. Oakley says in those other videos. If you've been enjoying those. All right. So then we move on to what does Peter mean in this conversation with Anne in the Diary of Anne Frank, Act 2? Anne, you're making a big mistake. I do it all wrong. I say too much. I go too far. I hurt people's feelings, says Anne. Peter, I think you're just fine. What I want to say, if it wasn't for you around here, I don't know what I mean. And pretty inarticulate in that one. Um, looks like it's a tie between the tricky ones, which is he means that the situation is worse because Anne is there. Well, I'm not sure why we answered that one because they're all kissy faced by the end of the book. I don't think that's it, especially in Act Two. He means that it does not matter whether or not Anne is there. Um, I don't know what I mean. I think you're just fine. He means that he wishes that he and Anne, it does not matter. I think it's just fine. I can see how that one might trip you up a little bit, but you just have to go back and look at the full scene. How could you do that? If you're on a computer, you can just say, "You're making a big mistake about me. You're making a big." Oh, there it is. All right, that's a Control F. I think you're just fine. Do you mean it? Do you really mean it? I said it, didn't I? Thank you, Peter. If you just go back and read it, then you're not going to be fooled by the tricky, sticky wicket of option C. Okay? So just go back and don't be fooled. Um, okay. All right. Now 10. Woo doggy. That looks like a difficult one. And I think these are. You have to know a little something about the relationship between a claim and evidence. So let's see what claim this question is asking us to arrive at. In the Diary of Anne Frank, Act 2, why does Mrs. Van Daan object when Anne and Peter begin spending a lot of time together? It was a dead tie between the tricky questions, which is she is afraid that Peter and Anne may run off and betray their hiding place. That is never said explicitly, and no one. I don't quite understand why we would answer that one. Maybe if you only read the first part of it, she's afraid that Peter and Anne may run off. That is fine, but when they add the betrayal part, I don't think Peter wants to murder his mother, right? The other tricky one was she thinks that Mr. Van Dam would disapprove of the relationship, which he most likely does. Um, so that's true, and I can see how that one would throw you for a bit of a loop too. It would be useful to find the part of the story that kind of throws you a bit. She is jealous that Peter is showing affection to someone else. Yes, that is definitely it. Now you might be thinking, wait, affection, mom and son? Is this Oedipus Rex I'm reading by Sophocles? No. Well, maybe a tiny little bit, but no. What you're reading here is just a natural reaction. All mothers, um, love their children. Well, most mothers love their children, and Mrs. Van Daan is no different. And then is suddenly losing his attention and devotion to some girl that she's forced to live with, right? So, what's going to prove that she's jealous? And by the way, if you didn't see any evidence in part B of question 10, then you could always revise what you answered, right? And maybe that is what happened. Let's take a look. The correct answer is I don't know what good it is to have a son. I never see him. He wouldn't care if I killed myself. Wow. Melodramatic, melodrama mama. Uh, and it looks like the other one to three was Booty. Where are you going? What do you want? Yeah, I suppose if you answer D, then I guess question A might have been tempting. Okay. It's close reading questions. I like them. I like them. Question 11. Why does Mrs. Frank order the Van Dans to leave the secret annex? Ooh, I love that part. I mean, it's sad and crazy, but it's a dramatic part. And I like that drama. All right. The correct answer is she's furious about what Mr. Van Daan has just been caught doing. The second, she believes that the Van Dans have betrayed their hiding place. I'm not sure why anybody answered that. And she never intimates that or says anything like that. She believes that the Allies will liberate Amsterdam soon. She never quite comes and says that either. She's tired of the petty arguments between Mr. and Mrs. Van Daan. Now, that one, I'm surprised didn't get more traffic. That incorrect answer. But it looks like a lot of you, or 60 of you, got C. And most of us were thrown off by that the Van Dans have betrayed their hiding place. I'm not sure where that came from, but maybe there's evidence through you, possibly. So like the evidence of betrayal. You should be ashamed of yourself talking that way. Think how lucky you are. No, I don't mean to suggest anything wrong. I only wish you wouldn't expose yourself to criticism. Yeah. Yeah, if my husband had any obligation to you, he's paid it over and over again. Yes. Your own son Peter, I've heard him moan in his sleep, he's so hungry. Or she's trying to shame him. So I would just try to find the scene where she's so upset and then go from there because some of those are other scenes and the context wouldn't make any sense. It wouldn't fit. Um, Question 12. Anne tells Peter, I still believe in spite of everything that people are really good at heart. How does her attitude affect the ending of Anne Frank 2? It makes the ending more moving because Anne is the victim of evil. It softens the ending because Anne has found a friend in Peter. I can see why that would throw you. That C. That's relatively close to being on it, but B is a little bit more true and makes sense if you think of it in light of all the characters, because it's not just a romance, right? But I can understand falling for that one. Reveals why Mr. Frank returns to the attic after the war. That seems off. And it adds suspense because it is doubtful that Anne keeps that attitude. I don't think that's doubtful. I think it implies that she'll keep going even though she's in such trying circumstances. Most people said that the most difficult one looks like it was a tie between 11B and 12. The most medium one, according to y'all, was 10B, and the easiest one was question 9. It looks like this round, the TV and the phone were at a dead tie for distracting students. Um, Music with lyrics on. It looks like 18 people had some lyrics on. Just go with Connie, go with Steven Universe, study music. The noise level is too loud. I'm sorry, that's not necessarily in your control. Same with siblings. Wow. So 36 of you had to deal with a noise level that was too loud as a result of siblings or something else. I can understand getting a question wrong based on that, for sure. For sure. All right, let's take a look at question 13. Wow, this one you guys kind of knocked out of the park. Sometimes I wish the end would come. What motivates her to make such a statement? She wants to stop living in fear. Yeah. Question 14. The Diary of Anne Frank, Act 2. Mrs. Van Dam becomes extremely upset when her husband insists on selling her fur coat. What is the most reasonable inference to make about her motivation? She treasures it as a reminder of her carefree life. It is cold and drafty, but she could probably find a blanket. She wants to keep it in case an urgent need for food or medicine arises. She doesn't say anything even close to that in the play. And she intends to give it to Anne or Margot as a gift after the war. She never even comes close to saying that either. So, question C, that's the one. Question 15. Motivation. So there's that specific word again. I mean, you could always go back if you see a word like motivation twice and you're not quite sure what it means. Then you could just go to the notes at the end of the story on page 189 of your PDF, and you could sort of reread what motivation is and the sort of motivations they're looking for and examples they give, and the table they even ask that you filled out if you're in some magical land where COVID-19 is gone. So that is definitely an option for questions 18, questions 14 and 15. All right. You can go back and look and control F the word um, motivation. Of those 3 questions concerning motivation and inferences, which motivation will help you figure out, looks like the toughest one was question 14, and the easiest one was question 15. Oof. Yeah, the noise level's getting louder as the test goes on. Jeez, oh man. Huh. All right, question 16. Um, given, oh, we got to stop there for today. Um, the rest involves some vocabulary, which didn't throw us too bad, but let's take a look at just this sort of tricky question here. This is a capitalization rules. Okay. Well, we can certainly go back over the capitalization videos that Mrs. Schiffer put together for you. Well, thank you for taking the time for this. I know we didn't get through all, but we got through a lot of it, especially the ones that related to comprehension and the skills that go along with the story. So thanks for taking the time and reevaluating your own testing behaviors and study behaviors. I know it's not easy being at home. I promise it ain't always easy on this end either, but it's definitely tougher for y'all. So make sure you do your very best. And thanks for watching.